Good morning. This is Adinah Michael and Frank, her husband. We've done a series before of YouTube teachings, or she has, but today I want to interview her and ask some questions because she's been doing a lot of study and thinking about all the different aspects of man and how God has created us and what He's made. And so there's several different terms that I'm going to ask her to kind of define what she's learned from the Hebrew and from her study and listening to others about the different components of man and how we see it.
Yes, there's, first of all, when you read an English translation, you don't get
You're right.
the different parts.
Oh yeah, they use
But
one word.
if you read it in Hebrew, you do.
Okay, and that's why Hebrew is important. Yeah.
Yeah. So as a result of this, the Jews who study their scriptures from Hebrew have a very complex, because we are complex people, a system of understanding what man is and his soul and how it all operates. You can see this from reading the scriptures to a degree, but I've read their things and it's still more complicated than what I think I can explain. So I'm going to try.
Yeah, do your best because
try and explain it from my reading of the Hebrew.
If you can explain it to me so I can understand it, then probably a lot of the people that watch this video will understand it.
Okay.
Hopefully.
When God made the animals, He gave them breath.
Right.
And they're called nefesh.
Yeah, and they're alive. Animals are alive and they die.
Right. And nefesh is a word for soul.
Okay. We need to keep that in mind. Nefesh is a word for soul. Okay.
It's, yes. Some of the other Hebrew words we don't know what to assign
an English word
a name to.
Okay.
So I just call them by the Hebrew name.
Yeah, but then you can kind of define it. Yeah. Go ahead and use the Hebrew name. That's all right.
Okay. So then when God created a man out of the earth, He did a special creation.
Right.
And He didn't just call forth Adam like He did the animals. He made him out of the earth. And then He did a special thing more than nefesh. He's going to be like the animals because He's from the earth, which is nefesh. He did a special thing. He breathed into his nostrils.
That's what it says. That's right.
The breath of life is what it says in English.
Which is kind of interesting. We read that, but we don't think a lot about it. Why? Here He made this man, and he was alive in a sense like an animal, but He breathed this breath into him.
So this breath is called neshama.
Okay, neshama. Okay, we need to keep that in mind.
Well, ruach is called breath too.
And ruach is also wind.
Wind or spirit. So with His ruach, God's wind, He puts the neshama in Adam. Now you have to go to several scriptures to get the
I was going to say, because in Genesis it probably uses the word ruach. Is that right?
The first time it's mentioned.
Okay.
The second time it's got neshama in it.
Oh. So what's the second time?
I think it's in chapter 2.
Okay.
When He made a living soul or something like that. So what the upshot of it is that Adam got a special component that made him like God.
Right. That's what it says. He was created in the image of God.
Right. Okay. So neshama is from heaven. Nefesh is from the earth.
Okay. So we have heaven and earth coming together.
Right.
That's beautiful.
And the ruach.
We can say heaven and earth didn't come together in the animals like it did for man. Right. Man is unique. Okay.
So the ruach is spirit or wind or breath. And you'll find that the English translations are not consistently following the Hebrew.
Oh.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yes, it is, because even sometimes Jews don't like to follow. For instance, the one that we read just yesterday where it said God was nefesh.
Oh, yes.
They don't like that.
Yeah.
Because
it's strange, yeah.
But you see, I have my own
understanding. That's what I want to hear, right? I wonder.
Well, the God, all of creation, all the
Mhm.
visible physical things
Mhm.
came from God. He spoke them into being. His
Everything. He
words,
created everything we see. I mean,
his
all of the
words
flowers, the trees, the
made
animals.
this
Yeah.
physical
Right.
creation,
Right.
okay?
Mhm.
We as a human being made from the physical creation as well as from his spirit would not be able to stand in his presence physically,
Mhm.
uh, because um, our physical body would not be able to handle it. So that, in other words, God is so much greater than what He's
Mhm.
made.
Mhm.
His glory and His eternity, His eternal being, is beyond description or beyond being able to explain. We can't
Right.
sort of put a handle on who God is and
Right.
what He looks like or any of that sort of
Right.
thing.
Right.
So the physical realm was made by God
Mhm.
to hide Himself,
Oh, okay.
and by hiding Himself, then He can create someone in His image.
Wow.
So God has a garment.
He had to hide himself where it would destroy what he created almost.
Right. So He hid Himself, and the Psalm says He wears the clouds like a garment. So
You know what psalm that is?
No, I don't know which psalm
Okay.
it is. But from my perspective of looking at this, that means that God wears all of the physical realm as His garments.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
And so this is why there's confusion with some
So
people.
we see God through what he created then.
Right. It says the heavens declare the glory of God.
Okay, if you have a beautiful woman, we don't want to think of a woman walking around naked, but when she has a beautiful dress on and whatnot, it sort of, she chooses the color, she chooses the design. It sort of tells us a little bit about her in a way. Is that?
Yes, and not only that, because of our choice, we needed to be hid from each other. We were naked and didn't know it.
You're right. That's
but now, because of shame of what we did,
of what Adam and Eve did, and what
yeah,
we do.
well, we do too.
Yeah, we do too. Yeah.
So, by putting on a garment, we cover ourselves in a different presentation to the world. And it's like we hide ourselves then in clothes.
Interesting.
I mean, it's just a concept.
Yeah.
This gives us an idea. God didn't do anything shameful, but He's not allowing us to see His glory so we can live in this realm. So
it's interesting that Moses went up on the mountain and was with God, but God must have still been hiding himself in a sense.
That's why He said, I can't show you my face, because the face of God is like seeing God in His who He is, because our face reveals more about ourselves than anything.
Now, He doesn't really have a face. He's not really man, but in a sense, it tells us that we can't stand His glory in that way.
Right. And so He put His hand over Moses when He passed by.
Interesting.
So what He wanted Moses to know in that instance was His loving kindness, His goodness. And there's 13 attributes of God. They're all positive there. That's the God we worship. He's not a war God.
No.
He can, all He has to do is allow our decisions to come to fruition, and we've got chaos.
Yeah.
So then back to man, the Ruach, God says in Zechariah, that eventually there's not going to be any might or power. It's all by His Ruach. This is very interesting. We have come down to the age of the computer here.
Yeah, we sure have.
And some people come to the conclusion God's like a big computer that runs the universe. because it's so precise. These words that he spoke are like a matrix that they use to program computers. And our body would be like the computer. It's got a circuit.
Yeah, the brain
Okay.
and everything. Yeah.
So somehow or another, we've got not just ruach, we've got mind, heart,
You hear all those things in
and
the Bible.
some of these things somehow, when Adam sinned, an ego.
Ego, yeah. What is ego?
Well, it's not mentioned in the Bible.
Oh, interesting.
It's
Self is
it's
mentioned.
just always you.
Self is mentioned in the Bible, I think.
Yeah, self, you.
The person.
The pronouns come from this. The thing is
ego a psychological term that man invented?
Yeah. Some people, some Jews teach us, they think that Eve came up with this idea that they had to sin in order to work things out on the earth.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
And that was...
Really?
I don't agree with that.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Because I believe when God gives free will, it is free will.
Mm-hmm.
There's no interception, because otherwise it's not free will. If they had chosen the tree of life instead of the tree of good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil, I don't believe that the ego would have gotten big.
Now, what do you mean by the ego getting big?
The I'm in charge. I made a decision.
Right.
I can make my own decisions.
I can do it on my own.
And so this actually...
That's sort of the people in the Tower of Babel in Genesis 11. They said,
I
can do it. I can build a tower. I can reach to the heavens.
I can be greater than God. And that's what comes of ego. So what we have now is an ego that is taking the orders. Okay. The neshama is not really embedded into the flesh. It's like it's a part of us. It's the part from heaven that can make our wisdom heavenly wisdom, or we can listen to ego that wants to listen more to nefesh, which says you feel that. No, let me explain. Some people think the nefesh is evil. The nefesh is not evil.
Okay.
God programmed the animals.
Well, you hear this teaching of
See, Gnosticism goes into anything physical is evil.
Right.
And then there's only what's spiritual is good.
Right.
That's not what God made.
Okay.
What is evil is someone deciding to be against God's plan for the world. Once we are against God and his plan, we've set ourselves up as an adversary of God.
So you see this in Cain and Abel, because God even told Cain that in a sense he could deal with the evil or the sin that he was thinking about.
Yeah.
But he chose to go against it because of his anger, I guess.
Yeah, he didn't want to lay aside his anger. So the ego, what we have now is we've got messages that can come into us from heaven.
Mm-hmm. That's a connection with God. Right?
Yes, and that is the real self that was created in his image is outside of nefesh, or outside of the body realm or the physical realm, just like God is outside of his physical.
But that nefesh is still unique for you and for me. Is that what you're saying?
My neshama is different than yours.
Neshama, did I say?
You said nefesh.
Neshama.
Well, of course, your nefesh is different too.
Yeah.
But the nefesh has certain needs that was created to keep it alive, to keep it well, so it can have pleasure be a positive entity. Well, it can get out of hand with this ego listening to it more than the nefesh or the neshama. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so there's this the creation.
So there's something about us that we decide if we're going to listen to the neshama or not.
Or yeah, through the spirit somehow feeding this information from heaven to us, or listening to something that's begging for more of something, or and
No.
the flesh is not evil in thinking, oh, I want more ice cream. It's just reacting because it was programmed that way.
Wow. Now I can see there's a lot more to this. We're going to have to continue this because we can't do it all in this segment. But I also want to get into what the Jews say, the Shema, and there it mentions loving God with all your heart, with all your nefesh, and with all your strength or energy, So
yeah. Well,
anyway,
all your input.
Right.
That's right. We can get into that because it's important.
There's a lot more to discuss about it. So thank you for taking time to do this today.